Hi, everybody. This is Hebert, former NHL goaltender, and you're listening to The Mask and the Mic, featuring my co-host, Kent French.
Yeah, the guy that just talked, he's the mask. I'm the mic. Yes. And together, this podcast, we have a lot of fun, talk to some great people, and we got a great guest, Gibo, coming up on the show. 2007 Stanley Cup champion for your Anaheim Ducks. Who do we have on the show?
We got the shutdown line king, Travis Moen. And we got some great stories from Travis, and you're not going to want to miss it, honestly.
Not going to want to miss it. He put aside his seating. He's a farmer. He's a hockey coach. He has his own hockey school. We're going to talk about all that and much more. It's coming up next on a podcast we like to call The Mask and the Mic, and Gibo, as always.
And good for us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Mask and the Mic. Kent French, Hebert, of course, along with you. A very special guest joining us from somewhere in the world. We're going to find out where he is. The farmer, the hockey player, Travis Moen. Stanley Cup champion for your Anaheim Ducks back in 2007. Travis, how the heck are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
Doing good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, just chasing kids around and doing a little farming and little skills hockey training and you name it. So
I love it. And we were just chatting before we pressed record here, and we're trying to get this thing all set up and working on browsers and all this stuff that I'm not familiar with, and I'm learning as I go. And I'm like, Travis sends me back this text, and I think I'm going to screenshot it and keep it. All he wrote is hockey player, farmer, have no clue what browser I use.
that's why I have kids.
It's so good. Well, tell everybody, where are you living right now? Where's home base for you?
Yeah, still back in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. So as soon as I retired, we used to spend our summers here and then moved back here full time now. And farm's about 20 minutes north, so it works out perfect. And then our cabin's about 35 minutes northeast, so works out pretty good. So
you say farm. What are you farming?
Farm, well, we used to run cattle back. I think we sold them all actually right after we won the cup in 08, 09 is when we sold the cattle. And then now we're strictly grain farm. So it's my brother's farm. I help out just in seeding and harvest. So I say in the summer, don't call me. But yeah, we grow lentils, durum, canola, peas. This year we put in mustard. So yeah, lots of different stuff.
Look at you. Was this something that you did prior was it a family thing prior to obviously throughout your career, but was this something that's always been a part of your family?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. My great grandpa came over from Norway and bought a plot of dirt, and we've been farming there ever since. So it's been in the blood. Farmed all growing up through hockey, obviously. When I was a kid, spent a lot of time on the farm. And then I continued right up till my son was born, where I would play in Anaheim and I would come back and work all summer and then on the farm. And then as soon as my son was born, I was kind of like, this is getting a little bit too much. I need the summer to rest and recover and stuff. So brother got a hired man, and we've been allowed me to focus on my training, so which was great. But I still get out there as much as I can and try and help out because it's fun. It's once it's in your blood, it's a way of life, right? So
I love it. I was trying to tell Gibo, I'm like, he's like, you got Travis yet? Are we going to do this thing with Travis? I'm like, I don't know. I got this text back. He's like, I'm seeding. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah. We got the seed sower out there. I can think is you got the big burlap sack and you're just tossing the seeds.
Just spreading it out. Yeah, exactly. No, it's a little more high tech now with all the technology in farming. I don't even have to steer the tractor anymore. It just goes down the field for you, and you turn around and you watch your drill and make sure that you don't have any plugs or any hoses popping off, and you get to the end of the field and all you do is turn the corner and hit a button and it goes back down the field. So it's pretty uneventful, but it's still fun watching the seed go on the ground.
Well, yeah, I've got a little experience with this because my wife grew up on a dairy farm in northern New York. So much like you, during the off season, and I went to visit her as we were dating, I can remember her dad saying something about, hey, would you like to, help us with some haying? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? Little did I know what I was getting myself into. And after just a little bit of doing that and throwing these hay bales on the conveyor belt or whatever, my girlfriend, who was my wife, went out there and said, like, I just don't think this is a good idea. Like, he could get hurt here and really jeopardize his career. So at that
Exactly.
point, he's like, all right, you can just stand there and watch, which is, I'm sure, a much
For
safer
sure.
place for me to be. But
Yeah. Oh yeah. Throwing those square bales are not light either, right?
no, they're not. And I was a novice, right? You could probably laugh about this, and,
Oh
and
yeah.
Frenchie has no idea, but
No idea.
I'm thinking I'm young and I'm strong, and so every time I grab the hay bale by the twine, like, I'm like the straws going into my fingers. So I start grabbing it and grabbing it with my whole arms. And of course I have short sleeve shirt on.
Oh
And
yeah.
by the time I get done, I wake up the next morning and it looks like I got chicken pox. I mean, I've got
Yeah.
marks
Oh
all
yeah.
over my arms from doing it. So lesson learned.
That straw really pokes you pretty good. That was a funny story about we used to haul a lot of squares as kids too. And my dad always believed in you build character through hard work. So it was funny the one day one of the neighbors had drove in and we were hauling square bales and he went over to help us and he grabbed a square bale and he went to throw it up on the hay wagon and he goes, "Oh, this is heavy." And my dad just chuckled and he goes, "Yeah, I make them heavy so it builds characters for my boys." Yeah, nothing came easy.
I love that. I mean, that translated to the way you played on the ice too. I mean, it was
Yeah.
you were a hardworking player. But before we get, on a obviously chat a little hockey, but let's
Mhm.
stay with the family, man. I want to know what's going on. Like, how many kids do you have now? And you said they're
Yeah.
kind of helping you on the farm. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I got my 17-year-old boy, Carter.
17?
17 now. Yep. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. He's actually helped out on the farm. He did a little rolling this year and stuff, so he's starting to get into that. And then he played his 16-year-old year in Swift Current for the Broncos. He was drafted by the Broncos, hometown boy. So he's playing in the Western Hockey League. He played last year, his first year. And then he just golfs and he's finishing up school. A couple week and a half left of school. And then my daughter, she plays pretty much everything. She does cheer, she does volleyball, she does softball. So she's kind of all over the map. So I actually coached for the Broncos last year in the Western Hockey League. So I was able to
That's
coach my
awesome.
son. So worked out good. So I went one way with Carter, and then my wife went, one way with my daughter. So we didn't see much of each other this winter, but yeah, the kids played lots of sports. So.
That's so great. And like,
Exactly.
it's funny. I was telling, we'll bring this up a little bit, talking about the Ducks run in the postseason,
Mhm,
and there was a lot of similar. Well, I don't want to say a lot of similarities, but
mhm.
certainly one, shutdown line I was talking to Gibo about that kind of is like, God, I got to talk to Travis. It'd be awesome to get a hold of him. Like, how the hell do I get a hold of Travis Moen? Like, so I start Googling you and I find the Swift Hockey Club,
Yeah,
right? So is it Swift Hockey Company or what's it?
Swift Hockey Company, yeah.
And I'm
Swift
like,
Hockey Co. Yeah.
so I'm like, okay. And so then I DM'd Swift Hockey Company. I'm like, hey, looking for Travis Moen, whatever. And your wife Amy's like, hey, this is Travis's wife
Yeah,
Amy. Definitely would love to talk to you. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's just the way that I was able to get a hold of you. Thank you to your wife, by the way, for
yeah,
getting us
see.
in touch. So it's pretty cool. So tell me more about this Swift Hockey Company. When did
Mhm.
that happen, and how is that going for you?
Yeah, it's going really good. Yeah, me and my business partner Regan Darby, he played pro hockey, drafted by the Canucks. We just, our kids were getting older, and we realized that there wasn't much for skill training in the southwest of Saskatchewan. So, about 5 years ago, we started up a company and just started putting kids through the paces, and bought that Edge Boss product, that reactionary training stuff. So, yeah, we just started getting groups together and running skates, and then pretty soon it started to blow up a little bit, and people wanted more. So then we started our company with Swift Hockey Company, and yeah, we've been doing it ever since. So, big spring camps. We'll do a 5-week spring camp, 5-week big summer camp for kids getting ready for their camps in the fall, and then we kind of run like a breakfast club where we'll do 6:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll run 2 45-minute sessions twice a week. And then we train the local, the AAA Ninja team here. We do some training with them. And then before that, we were doing a lot of work with the Broncos too in the Western Hockey League. So yeah, we've been pretty busy with that. And it's kind of fun because it's been 5 years now, and now that you're watching the progression of the players you've been
Yeah.
working with and how much better they're getting and stuff. It's pretty fun to watch. It's great be able to be on the ice with them and teach them, certain skills that we've learned over the years. Or the nice thing about TikTok and Instagram is there's so much stuff out there that you can just kind of pick different drills off that too, and it's great. So it's been a lot of fun.
Are you able to work with goaltenders? Do you have anybody specifically
Always
that
comes
works
back
with?
to goaltenders,
Listen,
doesn't it?
I'm just
Yeah.
curious
Yeah.
because you always need a goalie, right? To
You
shoot
do.
on. I mean, I'm not
You
saying that
do.
they're trying to make them better, but
Yeah. Goalies are always the hardest to find. Like you get the spring camp signups and they don't sign up, and then it's hard to find the goalie, especially in a small town like Swift Current too. But we did have a local guy that would come out and work with the goaltenders too. So we just didn't have too many guys who were able to work with the goaltenders. But we still invite the goalies out. They get lots of rubber that's thrown at them, and they're not the best quality drills that goalies like, where
yeah.
they need that 10 to 15 seconds between shots. There's a lot of rapid fire stuff, but no, we enjoy having them out there. Especially with the skills. The kids hate shooting on an empty net. Like it's just not fun, even if
Yeah.
a shooter tutor. So you need goalies out there that makes it more enjoyable for the shooters too. So
Well, I just know that as a kid growing up, just like that, where I would skate in one session and then like goalies wouldn't show up, and they'd be
Yep.
like, "Hey, we're an older group. Do you want to just stay out?" And I look at my dad, and he's like, "Hey, free ice time? Absolutely,
Yeah,
you stay out."
for sure.
So, and then
100%.
you of course got to be able to skate with older kids and better shooters. So,
Yeah.
for me, it always was a benefit. So,
Yep.
goaltenders can be popular in the right situations.
They're extremely important, that's for sure. And we do a lot of the same thing where it's like when we don't have a goaltender for the next session, we usually talk to the goalie in the session before and say, "Hey, do you mind staying out a little
Yeah.
longer?" Yeah, because it just makes it more fun for the shooters. So
Trav,
yeah.
when did your son take an interest? Has he always had an interest, just obviously watching you and being around the game all his life? And when did that, interest become a serious interest?
Yeah, I think, like right from obviously the young age of when he could walk, he had a hockey stick in his hand. And then we put him in hockey in Montreal his first year. And then I got traded to Dallas, and then they stayed till Christmas and then came down to Dallas and put him in hockey down there. And then the second year, in my last year in Dallas, he played hockey there too, and it was great because we kind of had a great group. We had like Trevor Daly, his kid was the same age as Carter. Vern Fiddler's boy was 2 years older. It was a pretty good group of kids on that team that Karch was able to hang around with. So, and then we moved back home, and it was full bore hockey. So he definitely loves it. So
You can say it's in the blood, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's just like farming.
Yeah.
Farming and hockey, baby.
Farming hockey.
How's it been being his coach? Is it tough, from the dad-son relationship?
Uh, I think when he was really young, it wasn't tough at all, but once you start getting to that, 13, 14, 15, I think it's a little tougher on him. Um, the one thing about him, though, is like I said, that honestly, in the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't even said anything to him just because he works extremely hard when he's on the ice. And I always told him, I said, I'll never give you shit for not scoring or not,
Yeah.
getting points, but I will give you shit if you don't go out there and work your butt off every single shift. So it's been good that way. He listens. He loves to work, and that's why he's been getting better. It's just because he puts in the work. And so the coaching side of it, I would say as he's gotten older, it's been a little bit more tough. Last year was really good. I felt like, coaching the Western Hockey League level, I just kind of kept my hands off. I didn't say much to him. I let the other coaches deal with him if that was needed. Yeah, and then this year I'm not going to coach just because I want him to have his own
Sure.
path and his own
Sure.
journey and his own career. Right? I don't want to, be stepping on his toes. And it was kind of funny. We were in Everett, Washington for our big U.S. road swing. And it was like early in the year, and I was like, "Hey, Kurtz," I seen him in the lobby. I'm like, "You want to walk down to the ocean? We can check the ocean out." And he kind of gave me a look like, "Dad, I'm with my teammates. Like, beat it." And I was like,
You're not
"Okay,
cool.
fair enough, fair enough." Yeah. So it was
That's
a lot of
good.
fun coaching them last year, though. It was just especially when it's in the Western Hockey League, seeing that big jump for him and
Yeah.
be able to watch them. And there's no better place to watch your kid than on the bench too, right? So
Yeah.
as much as you're trying not to watch your kid, you're trying to watch the whole game and other players on the ice, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, what does he have plans? I mean, what's his goal in life as a hockey player? I mean, is he living the dream of like, hey, one day I want to follow in the footsteps of my dad. I
Mhm.
want to go to college. Does he have a path that he's set forth that he's planning on?
Yeah, he definitely wants to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's his goal. But he also understands that it's a long road and it's hard to get there. And then his focus, luckily, he's really good in school. So definitely the NCAA route would be really important for him. So that's kind of his path is, he'll
That's cool.
probably play NCAA hopefully, and then, and then he'll take a kick at the can and try and play pro. So
I love it. I love it. So, Travis, when did you actually hang him up from the NHL, and what was the moment that you realized, okay, I'm done. I've done everything I can on the ice, and it's time for me to move on?
Yeah, it would have been my last year in Dallas, 15, 16. So I retired in the fall of 16, and just my knee was getting so bad. I always said you go to played in Anaheim, which, the training staff was amazing there, really good training staff. And then I went to Montreal, and that's when I started having my knee issues. And the training staff in Montreal was amazing. Like, I would be on the training table every single day. They'd fix me up. I could go out and play. I could go out practice. And then I went to Dallas, and it was a little different there. The training staff was great. They just didn't have the support staff needed to understand what was going on with my pelvis and my knee.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a struggle. I was always on the road trying to find a chiro or somebody that could work on me. And then it was just a grind that last year, and I kind of knew that it was probably going to be my last year, and which I was okay with. Like, when I got traded from Montreal to Dallas, my daughter she would have been 2 years old, so it didn't really affect her. But my son had just started kindergarten in Montreal, and then having to, move to Dallas. And we put him in straight French, and he was fully fluent French by Christmas. And then we had to uproot him and move him to Dallas, and there was no French program down there. So just kind of seeing how hard it was on the family, the travel, the move, with me getting traded, and kind of said, you know what, it's time for me just to hang him up and spend time with the family and enjoy that part of my life.
Well, I mean, what you're saying is what a lot of people never know about, right? This is the behind the curtain look at what happens to professional athletes. And I know it happens in all walks of life, and people getting moved in their jobs, corporations or whatever. But, like for the athlete, for you and I, like it's almost easier, right? We pick up and go, and we walk into a locker room, and we're embraced by a family of 20 other hockey players, and you have support from management and coaching staff. But it's so hard on the family, and when you start having a wife, and then that's hard in itself. But then when you have your kids and you start moving kids around, it becomes extremely difficult. And but it's interesting to hear what you say about. I think we all at some moment in our career, kind of the light bulb goes off in our head, and it's like, can I play another year? Sure. Will I be as good as I once was? No. Can I still be valuable? Sure, I think I can. But yeah, it's that realization at that moment of like, I've had a great run, and, I think we all want to be able at the best of our ability kind of decide on our own. Like, we make that decision that we're ready to retire. So I'm happy to hear that, not through injury, but that you came to that conclusion on your own and said, it's time. I was able to do that and say, hey, I've got a history of this, this, and this. I can keep playing, but I want to make that decision. So, hopefully a lot of guys have that opportunity, but I know sometimes it comes from usually management that ends guys' careers instead of on our own terms.
For sure. And you can't fault them for it. I mean, it's a great game that everybody wants to play as long as they can, right? And at some point you got to weigh the pros and the cons, and the family to the hockey, and then even health wise too, right? You're getting older, and you're not as quick as you once were. Well, you're a little more susceptible to injury too. So obviously I've had my fair share of injuries, so I wanted to leave the game somewhat healthy and be able to enjoy my next 30-35 years hopefully.
That's the thing, is that we're so conditioned to playing and then getting to a retirement age. And I retired at 34, and I felt like I lived a full life. And then I wake up after like a year or so, and I'm like, okay, I'm only 35 years old. Like, I hope I live for 50 more years. But it's kind of a sobering moment to have that realization, right?
For sure. Yep, it is. Definitely. It's something we thought we would never see. You start your career, and it feels like you're going to play forever, and then all of a sudden one day you're old, and it's really time to retire. So, but like I say, I had the most fun in my career, played with a lot of great teammates, and I wouldn't take anything back for sure.
Travis, when you talk about teammates, and I've been told this, obviously you have never been part of it, but once you reach the ultimate prize in any sport, right, have that championship team that you are forever linked, you're forever connected. Do you still stay in touch with some of the guys from '07?
Yeah, the odd guy once in a while. Obviously, Rob Niedermayer lives just down the road from us,
Well,
about
he's
6
farming
hours.
too,
So
right?
Or, or
he's a
hunting.
rancher. He's
He
a rancher now.
Robbie
Well,
the rancher, that's
it
so
was kind of
good.
funny because Rob was about 8 years ago. He texted me. He's like, "I'm thinking about getting into Wagyu beef," and I was like, "Rob, you're not a rancher. Like, what are you doing?"
So
Well,
funny.
it's good for him. He's built quite the herd there, and he's doing really well for himself. But you keep in touch as much as you can. You play with a lot of guys over your career, so it's really hard. But obviously, Anaheim's a special place. We went back for the 10-year Cup
Yeah,
reunion,
yeah.
and it's funny, like you haven't seen guys in 10, 15 years, and then as soon as you get together, it's just like you never left the locker room. So
That's cool, and I wanna
yeah,
so I wanna go, Gibo, we're gonna go down memory lane a little bit here, and
Sure.
let's go back to '07, all right? Always fun to revisit this year, but, a question I wanna ask you and I wanna know is, at what moment, maybe it was preseason, maybe it was, the
Mhm.
beginning of the season, but when did you realize that '07 team was something special and that you guys could really do something?
Yeah, I think it was the start to the season. I remember we went on that big run to
Yeah.
start the season where I think we'd set a record for most games, though, a loss or something. I can't remember exactly what the stat was, but I think at that point we realized, oh, we got a team here, and obviously, we got a chance at putting together a pretty good run. So I think that was kind of that really hot start we had. And then you look at our team too, like you look at our back end, and Niedermayer and Pronger and Jiggy and Net, and then our top line, Teemu, Kunitz, McDonald. Then you have the young line that is just as good as them, Corey Getzlaff and Penner. So I just think that, looking at the depth of our team and kind of how we were structured, we were big and physical. Right from that point, I felt like we had a chance.
Go ahead, Gibo.
Yeah, no, I was, because I think chemistry is so
Mhm,
undervalued, and you think about guys having certain responsibilities, and
mhm.
who plugs and plays where, right?
Right.
And you think of, like, the Hall of Famers that were on the team that everybody knew,
Mhm.
that Teemu and
Yeah.
Prongs, Scotty were going to be there someday, but
Mhm,
much like your line, which again is was unheralded
mhm,
during the time, but everybody realized how important your line was to the success of the team, and that, if everybody stayed in their own lane and did their own job, then that's where success comes from. But it's that
mhm,
chemistry, I think, that where, guys, I mean, it's honestly, it's like brotherly love, right? You love the guy sitting next to you, and you play
mhm,
for the guys on that bench. And I think when you do that and you make those sacrifices, you are successful. I mean, we see it every season in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? You see a team that kind of rises to the top, and you see players,
mhm.
Braden McNabb the other night, right? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
perfect example of, like, hey, and
Mhm.
coming back and getting hit in the face, but then coming back in that next game, it speaks volumes not only for him, but for the chemistry of that team. I don't really want to say the name of the team because, it's a rival,
Yeah,
right? But
that's right.
for your season in particular, I mean, are there moments that you remember as you were getting to that playoff run where you saw, like, really selfless play by your teammates?
Yeah, I would say so, but I think our team had like a really good identity. Like we all knew our roles and our identity as a team, right? Like we knew that our top two lines they needed to score goals.
Yeah.
They had to. They were and then our line as a third line, we knew that we had to shut down, and we didn't have, Sammy and Rob, like we didn't care about points. All our focus was just shut the other team's top line down. So we weren't cheating, for goals. Like we played the right way, and we all believed in ourselves, and believed in our teammates that could get the job done. And then obviously our other line, we had, they were big and strong and bruising, and they understood their identity as a line too, right? So I think that's the most important thing, is like every line having an identity and buying into it. I think that's the biggest thing. The hardest thing is for, guys to, maybe one guy thinks, I should be on the top, on the top line or whatever, and not buying into that role or that identity. So I think our team really understood what each player brought to the team and went out and executed. And I think that's the most important thing for a team that wants to go deep into the playoffs.
When was your line put together?
It was kind of put together at the end of the season before, kind of
Okay.
that, yeah, 05, 06 run. So it was kind of put there, and then the next year, I don't think we played on a different line all year.
Really?
And then the next 2 years, even after we won the cup, we played together. So, I give, Randy Carlyle a lot of credit too. Like, the lines didn't change a lot throughout the season. Here or there, a little bit tweaks. Our line never changed, but it allowed the team or the lines to, create that chemistry that I think you need, especially in the playoffs when things aren't going, the way you're thinking they should be going. You still can lean back on that. Well, we've played together all year. We know how to score. We've put up points all season long as a line. Let's just go and do it, right?
Well, we got to talk about goaltending.
Yep, for sure.
And it's funny because Jiggy had one of the
Mhm.
most amazing runs a goaltender can have in any playoffs, and it
Yep,
was the year that the Ducks don't win the Stanley Cup, right?
I know.
They lose
Yeah.
in 7 against Jersey.
Mhm.
Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
Yep.
Honestly, when I was doing some games on the radio, I was in the Honda Center, and I was, as a former goaltender, like just in awe of what he was doing on a nightly
Mhm.
basis. But then all of a
Yep.
sudden, you fast forward to the actual Stanley Cup year,
Yep.
and there was some things going on in his life that made it
Mhm.
difficult for him to be in the lineup every day, and certainly be in the moment. But there's some other goaltenders who stepped up, and without like that support from the backup goaltender,
Mhm.
uh, you may never have gotten to the Stanley Cup Finals and had a chance
Yep.
to win the cup. So, that's just one of those unsung hero things where, you know, sometimes the most unlikely candidate has to be able to, make a huge impact, and
For sure.
and none other than the special guy who
Oh, yeah.
came in, right? So what
The Briz man,
yeah,
yeah.
so, I mean, like, the confidence in teammates and all that, but when he came in, I mean, obviously, he's a world-class
Mhm.
goaltender, and, his I guess his demeanor is different than most goaltenders, so maybe
Mhm.
it really was, I mean, a key factor that he
Yep.
was mentally the way he was, right? That he could just kinda come in, be
Yep.
unflappable. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on him being able to step in big
Mhm.
moments and then step out, and then Jiggy
Yeah.
getting back into the pipes.
Yeah, it was, obviously that was kind of a little bit of a nervous time for us when Jiggy's, obviously had some family issues with his son or whatever. So, Briz came in and stepped right in. And, I roomed with Briz for 2 years on the road, so I know all about Briz.
Wait,
So,
did he? No
yeah. Oh,
way.
yeah. 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 I got a story about Briz that is quite funny. But, Briz was just kind of a quirky goalie that, he's a little bit out there, but great guy, amazing guy. And like you said, world talent. Like he was athletic, 6'3", 6'4", moved extremely well. So I think that was the thing too, is we had confidence in Briz when he came in. Like we weren't like, oh, now our backup's in, he hasn't played much this year, where Briz played quite a bit all year. And we were extremely confident in him jumping in nets. So obviously he played, what was it, 4 games, I believe, and then he got pulled or whatever. We were kind of weren't playing good in front of him against Minnesota, and then and then Jiggy came in that. So, yeah, Briz was awesome. He was a competitor, and we had all the confidence in the world in him. But you still want your number one goalie in the net when you're going in the playoffs. So it was great to see Jiggy, in a very tough situation, be able to jump in there and start playing well right from the get go is really shows a lot about his work ethic, his character, his determination. And then it was, I wouldn't say it was smooth sailing after that, but yeah, he came in and he was lights out for us.
All right. You teed us up on this, your little teaser there for the Briz story. Is it something you
Okay.
can tell us about here?
Oh yeah, I can tell it.
Oh,
It's nothing too bad. We were in. So I never slept in my whole career. Like I slept in once, and this is the story. So me and Briz were rooming together in Carolina, and Briz wasn't playing that night. And it was one of those, suites where you have the little couch room with a TV and then
yeah.
the bedroom in the back. So I walk in the room and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go have a nap." Briz, he's like, "Okay." I'm like, "I'll set my alarm for whatever." He's like, "Oh, don't worry about setting your alarm. I'll wake you up." I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I better get a wake up call. So I called down, got a wake up call just in case. Well, the bus left at say 4:45. Well, I woke up at 5 o'clock, and I look over and the bed beside me, Briz is snoring beside me. So I jump out of bed. I'm like, Briz, we slept in. He's like, oh shit. He's like, I'm not playing. So you go, just go. I'll grab your stuff. So I jump in a cab. I boom it to the rink. But I can't remember who I called. I called I think it was who was it? Tim Clark or somebody? I can't remember, one of the training staff. I'm like, hey, I slept in. He's like, okay, don't worry about it, Mo. He's like, I'll bring your workout stuff to the bus and you can just change on the bus and then just run in like you were warming up. I'm like, perfect. So I get to the rink, jump in my workout gear, go jogging into the rink. They just finished like the pre-scouts meeting. The guys had like ruffled my stall up and moved my jersey to cover for me so nobody knew I was gone. So yeah, it was lots of fun with Briz on the road. He was yeah, it was a little quirky, but we enjoyed our time. But that was the only time in my career I was ever late. So
Unreal. And a Randy Carlisle bus leaves a minute before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. If you're not 5 minutes early with the coach, you're 5 minutes late. So.
Oh, it's insane. Every good team has adversity. Who? Well, first of all, what can you give me a story of a moment, whether it be towards the end of the season, beginning of the season, or even in the playoffs, when it was like, you know what, we really need to hunker down. We need to refocus. Things aren't going the right way. Things could go wrong if they're not changed right now. Is there a moment in time that kind of stands out to you where you really kind of had to say, you know what, we need to rethink how we're doing things?
Yeah, I think it was that Detroit series. I think, obviously Minnesota, we, got through, not easy, but, we won in 5. I think the Detroit series was a series where it was like, okay, boys, like this team is right there, right with us. We got to hunker down. And then Teemu scored that goal in overtime. It kind of gave us a little step on them because, to be honest, it was a struggle. They were a good team. We knew we were in for a tough one. Obviously, they win game 1. We win game 2. They win game 3. We win game 4, and then obviously game 5 we obviously won and took a stronghold on the series. But I think that was a moment where we kind of we lost game 1. It's like, oh boy, this team's good. We got to really hunker down and make sure that we're playing at our best if we want to beat them. So I think that was kind of that turning point and then that's where we kind of self-belief. We knew we could win it too if we beat Detroit, who we thought was the best team in the league at the time. Going into Ottawa, we knew they were going to be extremely good too, but I think that really helped us with our confidence and our belief that we could win it.
Well, what did you think, as you're going through the playoffs for preparation? I mean, how much did you guys do when you were trying to match up lines that you did as like breakdowns with coaching staff on your own? I know it's not the technology of today where like the iPads are on the bench and all that.
Yeah.
But, when you guys were preparing for, I mean, obviously at home, it's a lot easier to match up, right, with the last change. But, did you guys get, really detailed on, who you're going to match up against, and then Randy and the coaching staff trying to get you out on the ice as quickly as possible if you weren't already out there?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the start of every series, I think we had a team supper and we would spend an hour or two going through every player on the other team, their tendencies, their strengths, their weaknesses, their line combinations, the strength and weaknesses of each line, the defenseman, the goaltending. So I feel like the coaching staff did a really good job of, making sure we're ready to play, and make sure that we didn't leave any stone unturned for sure. And then obviously, it was kind of a lot, especially on the road. It was hard to get the matchups, but Randy was really good at matching up lines. So he had lots of signals from the bench. I think he called out every single defensive zone faceoff, every offensive zone faceoff. He would have signals for everything, and then he would get us out no matter what. Every single face-off. I think you could go back and look. The centerman or the line would look back at the bench to see what the instructions were, whether it was to change right away, so we get a different line on the ice, or it was to stay out, or maybe it's like it's a quick shift and then get off. So there was a lot of communication between Randy and the players on the ice to make sure that we were ready to jump on the ice or get the certain matchup that he wanted. So.
Game 4 against Ottawa, end of the second period, Daniel Alfredsson fires a puck at Scott Niedermayer.
Mm-hmm.
That and then you guys go into the intermission.
Yeah.
Take it from there. What happened? Like,
Yeah,
you
well,
guys
it
are
was
fired. I mean, you guys
we
are
were
all
fired
fired up,
up.
ready to take on the entire team.
Yeah, we were fired up. Well, it's Scotty. You don't shoot a puck at Scotty, right?
Right.
And we had a team that, to be honest, I mean, you don't do that, right? We could hurt you, on the scoreboard, and we could, we had a tough squad too, where we weren't afraid to mix it up as well. So I think we got in the dressing room. I think it was Jiggy snapped on us, and we weren't playing good. Like, we were awful. I think he just stood up and he's like, this is a pretty incredible chance, guys. Like, what are we doing? We're messing it up right now. Like, we got to come out. We got to finish this third period strong, and we got to build for the next game. And it was a little more heated than that. I won't get into whatever, but no, Jiggy was a leader on the team. He, obviously goaltenders can't wear a letter, but he was one of the guys that everybody looked at, respected. I mean, when he said something, everybody listened, right? So kind of got us, out of our little funk that we were, in the first two periods. And, I thought we came out in the third, played better. And then obviously, game 5 was awesome. So yeah, you need that leadership, right? And Scott was our leader all year, and he said lots of stuff throughout the year, prongs, all those guys did. So, but that was Jiggy's moment. He was the guy in the net that was getting, pounded on, and we weren't playing good in front of him. So he let us know how he was feeling and what we needed to do from there. So that was one thing about Jiggy. If you know Jiggy, he's very fiery. He's got. I remember one practice, I'd hit him up high in the shoulder or the helmet or whatever, and he came chasing me down the ice and wanted to two-hand me the back of the leg. Like, it didn't care who you were. He was intense, and that's what made him so good.
Well, I do know that, historically goalies don't like to speak up in the locker room a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when, even for myself or other goalies I played with, if the goalie comes in the locker room and kind of loses his mind, it kind of sends a big message. And you try not to do it often because you don't want it to be like, there goes, Jiggy again, or there goes Gibo again, You're like, shut up and stop the puck, right? That's always
That's right.
But when you do speak up and you're passionate about, like, hey, let's figure something out, the guys do have a tendency to listen. But in defensive goaltenders, I mean, we don't like to get hit up high in practice. And so, I've tomahawked my stick at a couple guys and sometimes realized that I might have just thrown it at Stu Grimson, and that was probably not the best idea.
Yeah, maybe not, but hey, whatever.
But
He's got to learn too.
Yeah, he got the message.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah, it's a wise thing I said to my one team, U13 or U15, and our goaltender always gets hit in the head. At that age, right? Every kid wants to go bar down, right? So I told the boys, I'm like, I'll throw you in that one day, like, and see how that feels. I said, if you can't pick your corner, don't shoot high then. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's like, until you can do it in practice and like, don't shoot high. Like, shoot low. I mean, you're going to score more goals shooting low anyways, because most goalies at that age think you're going high anyway. So if you can pick, over the pad or over under the glove, you're going to do well. Right. So, it's kind of funny that these young kids too, they hit goalies lots. So, obviously us older guys, us pro players, we should know better, but sometimes it gets away on us.
I always said, like, hey, when we get in the game, go ahead, fire everything high at the other guy, save
That's
it up
right.
for him. And
Exactly.
I played with Brett Hull in St. Louis, and I was a rookie, and he used to say, hey, I'm going to waste one early right at the goalie's head in a game. He's like, he had that wicked slapper, and he wanted the goaltender to know that it was coming high and hard. And back in our day, the equipment wasn't as great, and guys, they'd be worried as the next time, and he could pick corners. So, eventually, but it was always kind of a funny thing that I'm like, in practice, I'm like, I don't see you taking it easy on us, but
no, exactly. That just shows you something, though. I said, you look at him, a prolific goal scorer like that, shows you how many chances he would get in a game where he could waste the first one on the goalie. I couldn't waste the first one because I usually only got one chance, so I had to try and bury it.
Travis, what type of leader was Scotty? Can you describe kind of how he was, respected, and when he decided to speak, when he didn't speak, and kind of his demeanor throughout the course of a season where, as you mentioned, from the get-go, you guys were expected to do great things?
Yeah, for sure. Scotty's a quiet leader, I think. Obviously, he demands a lot of respect. He's won endless amounts of cups. Team Canada, gold medal. He's a leader that leads through example. He shows you how to play the right way through his play. Um, and he picks his spots really well. He's not a guy that's going to come in, if we have, a half a bad period, he's not going to come in screaming and yelling. He never screams and yells. That's one thing about Scotty. He's just very, he's not a roller coaster, right? He's very even keeled the whole time. But he was really good at picking the spots when he needed to say something. And it wasn't every game, like I said, but when he spoke, everybody listened. I'm talking everybody. Like, there wasn't one guy that thought he had a bigger ego that couldn't listen to Scott Niedermayer, right? So he demanded respect, which he deserved over his career, obviously playing so well, and just an ultimate leader. I used to get mad at Scott in practice. Like, we'd be doing a bag skate, and I'd be just struggling, trying to keep up to the group and just drenched. And he'd take his shoulder pads off and he'd have like a little spot of sweat. And I'm like, how does that make sense? Right. So just demanded, he just had, every single player respected him so much. And when he spoke, we all listened for sure. And just a great teammate. And the reason why we were able to hoist the cup is through his leadership. And there were some times too where Randy Carlo would be like, Scotty, say something. Like, we're all gassed and we're debating. I mean, Scott would not say anything. Like, the coach is the coach, and whatever he says, you do. And that's kind of Scott's mentality. Was like, he's the head coach. Whatever he tells us to do, we have to do it. Right. And, you'd get some guys to be like, oh man, this is horrible. Right. Where on some other teams, you might have a guy that would like, say something where Scott was like, no, we're just putting the work in and he's going to make us better. And that's kind of how it was. So,
well, so in the modern day hockey, one, how much NHL hockey do you watch? And two, do you follow the Ducks, or is there another team that you follow? And, because I know, Frenchie, we're going to get there, about a line that is currently with the Ducks at the end of the season reminds us of your line. But yeah, are you tuning into games on a regular basis? For anybody?
I wouldn't say a regular basis. Obviously busy through the week. If
You're
we're at
seeding,
home,
for God's sakes.
Yeah,
Hey, that's
I do a lot of
summertime.
I do a lot of listening during seating on the tractor on the radio. We don't have iPads or stuff on the tractor, so I can't watch the games. But I would say throughout the winter, you definitely watch the highlights. You catch the odd game here once in a while, but I wouldn't say like I follow the game like most people. I'm kind of, I enjoy watching. Obviously, the playoffs you watch as much as you can, but definitely tune into the Ducks. They're going to be exciting in the next couple of years for sure with their youth and the skill sets that they have on that team. So, yeah, I watch enough, but obviously not as much as some people. That's for sure.
Well, I think that you'll have to tune in because, there is this line and it kind of changes with some of the players. But by the end of the season, they had acquired a guy named Jeffrey Viel from Boston Bruins, and he is a later in life guy making it into the NHL. Established himself as just a hard-nosed player, much like yourself, finishing checks, working hard, 200-foot player. Earned himself a really nice spot on the Ducks' current checking line. The Ducks moved a defenseman, Ian Moore, up to wing throughout the course of the year, and had never played wing, he said, in his entire life, not even as a youth hockey kid. So he became part of that line. And then there was a guy, Western Michigan Bronco, won the NCAA championship a year ago, earned a spot on the team throughout the course of the season, Tim Washi. And these guys, and sometimes Jansen Harkins was sprinkled in, and some other guys, but these guys have really become a force, and it doesn't. It's eerily similar to what you guys were able to do. And in the first round against the Edmonton Oilers, a lot of people thought the coaching staff was crazy, or going like, Coach Q, what are you doing rolling out this line against Dreisaitl's line or Connor McDavid's line? And they did a tremendous job. And so, Frenchie, I mean, I know watching the games here in SoCal that as we watched it, and we know your line, intimately, yeah, we couldn't help but flash back and say, hey, this could be a line that's going to stay together for the next couple seasons and be just like your line.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the most important thing too, is having that identities line. You don't see as much anymore in the league, having that sole shutdown line. And I think it's really important because if you can take your shutdown line, whether it's your third, fourth line, and play them against their top line, well, that just opens up more for your first and second line to be able to play against their second, third line, whatever it is. So I think it helps helps your first and second line by having that shutdown line that can shut down their top line too, right? So I think it's extremely important to have a line like that, or a line, or even two lines that you could throw that could play well against their top line or whatever it is. So, it's exciting to see. You watch Anaheim. I watched a couple games in the playoffs, and man, they're fun to watch. Yeah, young and explosive, and the backhand's good, and I got some guys that can score too, high end skill up front too. So it's going to be extremely fun to watch in the next 2-3 years. So selfishly, it's hard too. Obviously, I want the Ducks to win another cup, but I also want to make sure they keep inviting us back for these 20-25 year anniversaries too, right? So
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we'll have to get you back for the Ducks alumni golf tournament.
Yeah, when is that?
Point.
Here's the invite. Here it is.
There it is. Yeah, so
perfect. I finally got an invite.
Might see.
Yeah. Well, we're going to blame that on Chris Loomis and Ryan Allen, Sean Pronger, who are our great leaders. So
that's right.
So I'm throwing it out to you right now. Yes,
okay, perfect.
Circle next May, early next May on your calendar.
Nice. Okay, done. I'll try and make her down for sure. I like golf, so
and it is a great time because it's getting better, as you can imagine, every year, and more guys are coming. We're hoping to get more guys who don't live locally to be able to come out. So
for sure.
So stay tuned.
Yes, I'm excited. I can't wait to get down. And I said it's always fun going back down to Anaheim and seeing the places you used to live, and seeing the rink, and seeing obviously Lumi I still keep in contact with, guys like that, and getting to remiss on the old days for sure. And then you throw a golf game in there too. That'll be fun. So
well, and
I don't know if I can golf as good as Teemu, but
well, he was on the disabled list because he had just had his knee done, so he was he was a no-show this year, but he'll probably be better than ever with a brand new knee.
Guaranteed.
But what you probably may or may not know, that the Honda Center is undergoing a $1 billion upgrade. So there'll be some great changes throughout the course of the Honda Center itself. And then I don't know what the cost is now. I've heard anywhere between $3 billion to $5 or $6 billion. The OC Vibe is being built adjacent to the Honda Center. So it will be an incredible, I guess it's a lifelong passion of the Samuelis. It's going to be their gift to Orange County, but it's going to be like LA Live on steroids. Parking structures, living,
you won't recognize
dining. You will not recognize. You should go Google it, because as a lot of fans suffered through parking issues and in some of the construction in the arena, but once it's done, everybody will be thrilled with the final result. So
that's crazy.
So hopefully next year it will look more like it's supposed to, and hopefully some things will be open sooner rather than later. But it will. You'll walk in and be like, oh my God, I don't recognize this area at all.
For sure, which is good. I mean, that there was so much open space there too, right? It was probably needed. So that's great to hear that the Samuelis are, investing in the future.
All right, before I let you go, you mentioned Teemu. You got to have a Teemu story for me here. You had some big personalities on that 07 team. I mean, Pronger, I remember him sitting next to Scotty on the plane, and he was just chirping everybody, and Scotty would just read the paper, and then God knows Teemu was just always chirping at somebody somewhere. I mean, you got a Teemu story for me?
Well, Teemu didn't like the plane, so he always sat at the front during takeoff. So
that's right. He would sit with the pilot.
He would sit pretty much with the pilot because he hated the turbulence and stuff. So he'd sit on the front of the plane. A good story about Teemu is me and him kind of had a passion for old cars, and my dream car is a 70, 71, 72 GTO Judge. So Teemu has one.
Okay.
And it's the orange color. It's a convertible. So I said to Teemu one day, I said, if we win the cup, you got to sell me your GTO Judge. He's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. So then we win the cup, and I'm like, Teemu, you want to sell me that? Well, he wants way too much money for it.
Sure, of course he does.
It was a little out of my price range. So, no, Teemu, what a teammate. I've never seen a guy that just comes to the rink, smiles every single day. Like, it was a pleasure to, play with him and watch how he handled himself and just his character, his charisma coming to the rink. And I don't think there was ever a bad day with Teemu. Like, he was always smiling. I've never seen a player of his caliber and his age at the time that never missed a pregame skate. Like, never. It almost felt like us young guys too. We'd be like, I think I have to go on the ice because Team was going out.
Yeah.
And that just showed you why he was so good. He just never took a day off and, took really good care of himself. And I think us young guys really enjoyed watching him and his career and learning a lot from him along the way. So lots of great Teemu stories, that's for sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I had the pleasure of playing with him as well.
Mhm.
And, the amount of autographs he would sign. I mean,
Oh.
listen, Paul Kariya would be on the bus going, hey, get him away from the people. We got to go. And
Yeah.
he's out there. But, that's why he's beloved by everybody, beloved by
Yep.
teammates and across, fans across the globe, because he always took that time,
Yeah.
to have that personal interaction, almost to a default, because, I can remember being in Calgary one time,
Mhm.
and I'm sure you got stories like this. We come out after practice, and he's talking to these autograph seekers, and they're local Calgarians, and they said, "Well, why don't you come over to the house for dinner tonight?" So Teemu turns to us and says, "Hey, I'm going to go to these guys' houses for dinner tonight." Like, no, you're not,
Yeah.
because they're not going to bring you back for the game tomorrow.
Exactly.
They'll
Yeah, no
drop you
doubt.
off after the game is done. But he
Yeah.
was just so, like, he didn't have like
Yeah.
a worry in the world.
No.
And but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, an incredible guy, and you still see it
Amazing.
at the Honda Center.
Yeah.
Saw it all season long in the playoffs. He's there smiling and
sure.
waving and embracing all the fans.
For sure. I remember like watching Teemu too. You watch him sign autographs, and I had a chicken scratch signature, and I'd watch Teemu, and it'd be like Teemu, and one of the most beautiful signatures I've ever seen. Teemu's amazing, and he took
Yeah.
the time to sign it the same way every single time, and it actually is quite funny. And I kind of remember being like, "Wow, that takes forever, though. Like, I wouldn't want to do that." And when I signed in Montreal, was the 100-year anniversary of the Montreal Canadiens. So they had a massive signing there. They brought in a whole bunch of the greats of the game that played in Montreal, and it was me, Josh Georges, somebody else. It was Jean Beliveau at the end, and we'd be ripping. So they had like 1,000 of these pictures we had to sign. So we'd be ripping through our signatures, and we'd have to wait because Mr. Beliveau was still signing. And at the end of the day, he came up to us and he goes, just a little tip for you guys. He goes, I can't read your writing. Like, I don't know, like if I look at that in 20 years, am I going to be able to tell that's Travis Moen? And I'm like, well, probably not. He's like, the most important thing is like, make sure your signature is something that people will recognize 20 years down the road. Right. And it kind of hit me. It was like, I remember Teemu doing that,
Yeah.
and I remember guys, Mr. Beliveau did it. You could read Jean Beliveau. Right. And I think, it taught me a lot of, these guys that they want their name to be recognized. And I was just in a panic just to get as many signed as quickly as I could. So I tell all my young kids now, I'm like, you see kids that are 14, 15, they're working on their signature. I'm like, make it so that people can recognize it. Like, sign your name. It doesn't have to be, big C scribble, right? It's got to be, you work on your penmanship, make sure it's, that people will be able to see 20 years down the road. So it's something I've taught, the kids that I've been coaching all the way growing up that, if you're going to sign your name, sign your name. Just don't, try and hurry through it. So that's another story of Teemu that I kind of took with me, because I remember looking back at Teemu's signature and I'm like, that's too slow. It takes too long. But in 20 years, Teemu's signature is going to stand up and mine's going to look like nobody's going to know who it is. So,
Well, what a great story that is. And then, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, right? You see all these signatures and it looks like they're a doctor or something. You have no idea who they are. Trav, obviously, I do have one more before I let you go.
Yeah,
And I
sure.
am like, yeah, I know, like, we got Travis Moen. We got to have all these questions for Travis. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, because I have a photo at the Stanley Cup party holding the cup with you. You have a cigar in your mouth. You have the salad going on at the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the dew. Great picture that I obviously cherish for the rest of my life. So I thank you for,
sure.
you know, always being cool and taking, like, you know, it was such
sure.
a great moment. But I want to know about your celebration. Like, what was
Mhm.
your day of the cup like? And do you
Yeah.
look back at that with fond memories? And do your son go, because he was young at the time, obviously. And I mean, just, I
Yeah,
mean, my goodness. Yeah.
he
Well,
wasn't born yet.
no. Oh my gosh. That's that
He
long
wasn't
ago.
born.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that long. He was 2 years before he was born, actually. We have a picture of Carter's cousin in the cup at our family thing,
Wow.
which is kind of funny because they're cousins. He's 2 years older than Carter. They play on Swiffer and Broncos together now. And they're two peas in a pod, so it's quite funny. But my day was incredible, honestly. You know, something that you dream of as a kid, bringing this, you know, Stanley Cup back to your hometown. I think Mikey got there around 8 in the morning. Kind of loaded up. We headed to the farm. We took family pictures at the farm. Went to this lake near us. Took family pictures out there, and then we went to Stewart Valley School. We did an autograph signing there, and it was to raise money for the local rink in Stewart Valley. So I spent 4 hours signing autographs there. And then we went back into Swift Current to my house, and I had all my family, uncles, aunts, cousins, you name it, all over for a big barbecue. And then we went to a little pub in Swift Current. It was called Cabot's at the time. And Steve, he's from Greece. Awesome guy. He was a sponsor for my U15 double 18
Wow.
back in the day. We were the Cabot's Raiders. So yeah, we just went there with lots of family. I think we had 200-300 people there and ate and drank. And yeah, he had famous ribs. Steve's. They were like the best ribs ever, little riblets. So I filled the cup full of ribs and ate out of the cup, and yeah. And then it was like 2 in the morning when then we went back to my house, and Mike had to leave at 4 or 4:30 in the morning because the cup was going out to Berkey.
Yeah.
And then Mike's like, I'm going to bed for a couple hours and I'll get up at 4 and then I'll leave, whatever. So we partied with a cup in my house for a little bit, and then at 4 in the morning I was little intoxicated, we'll say. And I got the garden hose out and the Palmolive, and I started washing the cup down, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. So wouldn't do anything differently. I was hoping to win it a second time so you could obviously know what's going on and what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing with the cup, and obviously would tweak things a little differently. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, something that never forget, our family will never forget. It was pretty amazing.
Well, Travis, that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing the story. And like
Yeah.
we were just chatting about, hopefully you get back out to Anaheim very soon.
For sure.
Have one of those
Yeah.
anniversaries, and you never know, might be able to sit between Gibo and I and chat do a little reminiscent again. We'll see
For
how
sure.
that all rolls. But
Would
yeah.
love to do that again.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for spending some time, for putting seating aside for a moment and all your hockey responsibilities.
You betcha.
Can we pump your school real quick? Swift Hockey
Yeah.
Company.
Swift
the
Hockey.
yeah,
Yeah,
give the
Swift
Instagram
Hockey
or whatever
Company.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'll send it to you or whatever, our website or whatever. But yeah, Swift Hockey Co. And yeah, it's something that we've been building for 5 years, and ultimately it's just to try and give back and make the Southwest Saskatchewan, try and turn some of these players into better hockey players, and go from there. So it's a lot of fun working with the kids, and hopefully we can do it for a few more years. The old body's getting a little it's a little harder and harder to get on the ice now and demonstrating the drills. That's why I usually bring my son out. My business partner's got 2 boys too and a daughter, so they're usually on the ice demonstrating for us because we're getting too old to be jumping over trainers and all that stuff. So
we'll have a little conversation with Pat Verbeek and tell him to look out for Carter Moen.
yeah, you bet.
Well, listen, you can catch this podcast if you want to watch everything that just went down with Travis. It's at The Master Mike on the YouTube channel. Of course, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And Travis, again, man, thanks. Great catching up with you. Thanks to Amy again for putting us in contact with you.
Gotcha.
Nice to find you, and thanks for putting the seating aside just for a moment.
For sure. Well, she keeps my life in order, that's for sure. So I wouldn't be able to do anything without her. So yeah, no, it was a pleasure. Great getting to connect with you guys and talk to you guys. So thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Look forward to staying in touch, and we'll do this again.
Sounds good, guys.
All right. Thanks, Travis.
All right. Cheers.